Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 8th episode of QISSAA with Ishika, quintessential and inspiring stories of South Asian artists. My name is Ishika Muchal, and I am coming to you from Los Angeles, California, the land of the Tongva people. And to everyone watching, happy Asian Pacific American Heritage Month. And this month was also the month that had the International Dance Day. So happy International Belated Dance Day to everyone as well. I am so excited to introduce to you my guest today, Tharini Shanmugarajah, a professional Bharatanatyam dancer, model, assistant artistic director, and makeup artist. She has trained in the Kalakshetra style of Bharatanatyam under her mother and guru, Srimati Kalyani Shanmugarajah, Sheejith Krishna of the Sahrdaya Foundation in Chennai, Srimati Bragha Bessell for Abhinaya or expression. And Tharini has also studied Carnatic music under Srimati Sankari Senthilkumar for many years, as well as ballet. She received her BS in Kinesiology with an emphasis in dance from Cal State Northridge in 2013. Some of her incredible performance highlights include the Spirit of Youth Festival at the Music Academy in Madras in 2002, Mara at the Ford Amphitheatre, which was produced by Maithili Prakash, duets with Sheejith Krishna in Los Angeles, Lancaster, Baltimore, and Toronto, Gopala Ratnam at the Balamandir German Hall in Chennai, The Evolution of Natya at Kalapeetham, and Don Quixote at the Music Academy in Madras, Canada, and at the Kennedy Center. Tharini is the Assistant Artistic Director of the Kalapeetham Dance Company since 2005, and the dance company has raised over $75,000 for various nonprofit organizations, including $10,000 for Doctors Without Borders. She has also collaborated with the Banyan Institute for Mental Health and Rehabilitation, and is actively involved in the nonprofit arts organization Galalayam, which she co-founded in 2014. Since 2006, she has taught multiple students at Kalapeetham, one of them actually finishing her Arangetram in 2017. Tharini is also a skilled makeup artist, working for several years with the cosmetics company Bobbi Brown, and I had the personal honor of having her do my makeup for my Arangetram. Right there. And Tharini has been a model and brand representative for Ziba and Dry Bar. I am so honored to welcome Tharini Shanmugarajah. Hello.
Hello.
Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, so I want to
Pleasure to be
start.
here.
Huh?
It's my pleasure to be here.
Thank you. So I'm going to start at the very, very, very beginning. Were you born and brought up in the US? And how
Yes.
has your identity shaped your experiences growing up as a kid?
So, yes, I was born here in Los Angeles, California, in the San Fernando Valley, to be specific. I'm a Valley girl. Yep. Yeah, being born and brought up in the US has definitely, as a kid, I definitely had my challenges. Much like any other South Asian who was born and brought up here, there's the struggle between the Western culture and, of course, our Indian, Sri Lankan heritage or South Asian heritage. One of the things that I grappled with, which I know a lot of kids grapple with, is how do you balance it? How do you balance the Western? How do you balance your Eastern roots? And it's something that I didn't figure out well into, I would say, late in high school or like my early college days. But now, obviously, it's a huge part of who I am, and I could not be more proud of my heritage or be more proud to share it with Westerners and my friends who I grew up with. So, yeah, it's had a huge impact, being born and brought up here as well as having the roots that I do. So, yeah.
Absolutely. I feel like, yeah, like you were saying, every South Asian kid, every person who's felt different has gone through that. Yeah.
100%.
And building off of what you were saying about like finding the balance between Western and South Asian or Indian and Sri Lankan, did you ever feel a pressure to take artistically more Western dance classes or arts classes that are more Western to fit in?
I wouldn't say that I felt the pressure. I think my parents probably felt like they needed to immerse me in both the Western culture as well as the Eastern, as well as my, Eastern roots. So growing up, I actually took art classes, which I'm sure a lot of Indian kids have done, Asian kids have done. And I also took piano lessons. I took calligraphy class. I took ballet lessons. I took gymnastics. And then on the Eastern side, my parents had me taking Veena lessons. And I also took Carnatic vocal. And of course was studying Bharatanatyam with my mom. So yeah. I wouldn't say though that there was any pressure to take the classes. I definitely did find that when I was taking ballet class, I developed a love for it. And ballet is something I still do to this day. So it's not something I look at as pressure. It's more like, I feel like ballet has really helped my Bharatanatyam in so many ways because it truly is the foundation for a lot of art forms. So I feel like if you know ballet, it can only help you. So yeah, I would say it's something more that I grew to love is taking ballet classes.
Definitely. I mean, you were already balancing both the Western and the Eastern art, so it was bound to
It was,
happen in your
yep.
life. And did you always know that you wanted to be a dancer, or was there a specific source for your inspiration?
So no, actually, I did not want to be a dancer. Yeah. I don't even think you knew this, or a lot of people don't know this. I did not want to be a dancer. I used to, when it came to dance class or when it came to performances, I actually used to run the other direction. But actually, it was something that I more grew to love, I would say, again, in high school and early college years, because it was something that I had to find for myself, find the love and passion for on my own. Anyone who knows me knows that you can't force me to do anything. I have to figure it out for myself. So I actually did not want to be a dancer. And having a mother who is a dance teacher came with a lot of pressure to, perform, to take class, to be a part of every little dance adventure along the way. And I just wanted to hang out with my friends like any normal kid and just do normal things like go to the movies or go to the mall or, it took some time for me to find what I loved about dance, the aspects about dance that I truly enjoyed. And also I had to do a lot of kind of soul searching, I would say, to really start to appreciate it and value it and understand how much of an impact it was going to have on my life if I decided to go down that route. So,
yeah. When was that moment when you felt like you actually wanted to go into dance?
So I would say that probably happened in college. And it was like kind of a growing year for me. 2011 was a big growing year. And I would say it is in part because of my mom, because she kind of just has always been hands off in terms of what I should do with my future or what I should do with my life. She was just like, all right, here, this is the plate. These are all your options. This is what you can do. This is what I've given you. Now fly, birdie, fly. She is an amazing parent, in my opinion. In that regard, she never forced me to do anything. And she just gave me unlimited amount of opportunities, which helped me kind of narrow it down and figure out, okay, I love dance, dance is my passion, but would it be my career? That changing moment happened in 2011. So that I would attribute to one, just spending more time with my mom and teaching classes with her. and kind of helping her and assisting her in classes, I would say it's the teaching aspect of dance that I most fell in love with, and training students and molding students, where I realized, it's not just, you're not just dancing for yourself. Of course, you are dancing for yourself, but your dance has a way of impacting other people. And what we have to offer to students can shape and mold and help them become the people that they're, going to one day be. So a teacher has a profound impact on a child, right? I'm sure you can say the same. Teachers make all the difference. So I think that was one moment where I realized that. And then the other was, of course, because of my college professor. I have to shout out to her, Dr. Paula Thompson from Cal State Northridge. She was my ballet and modern dance teacher, as well as the head of the dance department when I was a student there, and she still is. And she was just incredible in terms of being a good guide and a good mentor. She would kind of give you like little snippets of her wisdom and then just like walk away. And then I would just be like scratching my head and be like, what did she mean by that? But no, she helped me tremendously in terms of choreography. Like I always had a block when it came to choreography as a dancer. And I feel like she just removed all those walls and barriers and was like, why can't you do this? Or why can't you do that? Like, just go for it and see what happens. So So I would say her and my mother, they both had the most profound impact on me, which kind of led to that turning point when I was like, oh, okay, this might be something I want to do. Let me go explore some more.
We love teachers who make you think.
Yes. And they both are those kinds of people.
And in college, you majored in kinesiology. So how did that impact your relationship with dance and movement?
So being a kinesiology major, it just made me much more aware of my body and also what we're putting our bodies through as dancers. You never really think about, for example, I'll explain this if any non-dancers are watching, Kalapeetham. So Kalapeetham in Bharatanatyam is equal to like first position in ballet, right? And then you also have our Aramandi position, which is like half sitting, but it's not like a plie where you go down and get up. You're in that Aramandi position for pretty much, your entire dance class or most of your dance class or most of an aravu or most of a, piece. Like there's very few moments where you're just standing up, right? So that Aramandi position can be quite brutal on your knees. And also the Kalapeetham position, if it's not coming from your hips, it can really damage your knees. So that's just like a little bit of what I've learned from being a kinesiology major, which has actually really helped me with training my students. So I make it a point now when I'm teaching my kids to tell them, okay, Kalapeetham better be coming from your hips and not from your knees, because I don't want all of you kids to have messed up knees in the future. So it's definitely helped tremendously. And just, all the little pearls of wisdom that I learned, when I was a student really helps me give them, things that they can use to not get injured in the future, which is super important for like the longevity of a dancer. Is you don't want to get injured, right? You want to keep going for as long as you possibly can. So it's in that way, it's helped tremendously.
Mm-hmm. Definitely, to know how your body works is so important when your body is your instrument.
Definitely.
I also took this class at CalArts called The Conscious Dancer, and it was just revelatory because it was about like anatomy and body.
Right.
And
yeah, I know. It's like, whoo. Definitely.
Yeah. And shifting to more of your performances, can you tell us about what your experience was like on tour and performing at the Kennedy Center?
Yeah, that was incredible. I think I just sat down on the stage for a second and like looked up at all the lights and was like, wow. I'm actually at the Kennedy Center. It was like a no, that performance tour was one of the most amazing experiences of my entire artistic journey thus far. And it's something I'll never forget because there were so many lessons I learned in terms of not just training for the production. By the way, Don Quixote is a production by my mentor and guru, Sheejith Krishna. And there were so many other people involved in it. Akila Ramanarayan, Srimati Jyotishmati Krishna. I can't name all of them off the top of my head, but I just wanted to mention them. But it was just so rewarding in terms of not just training for it, being a part of the choreographic process with my mentor, seeing how much really went into choreographing a production of that magnitude. And then also in terms of spending like a good 4 months in Chennai away from family and friends and just being there to train for the production and then being there for the premiere at the Music Academy, which also was another incredible moment. And then coming back here, and then actually Kalapeetham was responsible for the entire tour. So in terms of visas and for all the artists who came from Chennai to the US, as well as, arranging for airfare, transportation, lodging, meals, all this other stuff. And we had to do it for all 15 of the performances on the tour. Wow. So doing all of that was actually my job. So I definitely learned a lot about the admin side of organizing a tour. And I have so much respect for tour managers afterwards because it's extremely time consuming. And then if you're also involved in the production, it's just, you don't sleep. Like you literally only think about the production. But it was incredible. And just meeting and working with all the incredible dancers that I got to work with, who are all Kalakshetra graduates. And then some of them are teachers and choreographers. Some are also Sahrdaya students. So Sahrdaya is Sheejith Sir's institute, which he founded. And just working with them and learning from all of them and, being guided by all of them. Because I was actually the most junior in the entire troupe. Yeah, I was the youngest. I was the baby. And working with so many senior people who were so gracious. They were incredibly gracious. I never once felt like they treated me like the baby, but I was definitely grateful that they were so patient and willing to, guide me and train me along the way and not just worried about themselves. So it definitely made me appreciate that environment as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
I can only imagine how, I can't find a better word than insane that must have been to be producing and dancing and choreographing and traveling.
It was a lot, but I mean, I would say whatever I had to do was definitely not as difficult as choreographing that entire production. I mean, the entire first scene of the production, I remember what went into that, and that was like a 2-year project for them versus a 6 month of crunch time for me. So but it was still incredibly rewarding, and I think every dancer should also do something like that, not just be a dancer, not just be a performer, but actually go through what you need to plan a tour like that or plan a performance single-handedly, because it definitely teaches you about all the little things that you might not think about, like the finances that go into it, right? The money doesn't just come out of thin air. So there's so much that goes into it.
Definitely. Producing is very enlightening, and you have a lot of respect for every single person involved afterwards.
You do, 100%.
Yeah. So for anyone watching, if anyone just joined right now, I'm with Tharini Shanmugarajah. And don't forget to like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, like this video, and share it with any dancers or artists or South Asians or just anyone who you think would enjoy this in your life. I would appreciate it. So let's transition into your work as a makeup artist and model. What was the impetus behind that, and can you talk about your experience with
Yeah.
that?
So actually, knowing how to do hair and makeup came from dance. So as a kid, my mom always used to do my hair and makeup, much like for every other little dancer out there. We all grew up with moms doing all of that for us. But after a certain point, I think because she's a dance teacher, just seeing her running around for her students too, I was like, okay, I got to make this poor lady's life a little bit easier and learn how to do this myself. So eventually I just started learning how to do my own makeup and my own hair. And that kind of spiraled into me doing hair and makeup for a lot of our students at Engatrums. And then eventually doing it for other teachers and their students like you. And then I actually trained with and worked at Bobby Brown Cosmetics, did a little freelance work for them, and also worked at department stores and stuff for them. So I got to work with, regular everyday people, just doing hair and makeup, and that's kind of just how I picked that up. And it's something I love just because you can do wonders with makeup. You can create characters, just with the stroke of a brush. But it's definitely one of my passions. Dance, of course, is my main, but makeup artistry is something that makes me happy, and it's kind of a tool for stress relief sometimes. So, yeah.
Yeah, and you also got into modeling. I was reading that you were on quite a few of the catalogs and as
Yes.
a ambassador.
So actually, a lot of my modeling experiences, the two big ones were, of course, Ziba, modeling for them, and also for Dry Bar. Those kind of happened on accident. So with Ziba, my aunt Rita entered me into a beauty competition, and she was just like, oh, let's just see what happens. And sure enough, I got picked as a finalist, went through this whole competition process, and then ended up winning it. And I was like, really? Like, I kind of like looked at the judges like, are you sure? Me? It was like one of those really kind of moments. But it was honestly a lot of fun. And the photo shoots and the modeling experiences that I had with them were great because Ziba's such a welcoming company, and they're really a lot of wonderful people who work there. So I had a really good experience modeling for them. And Dry Bar, same thing. My husband now, Janati, he and I, when we were first dating, he was like, oh, this looks cool. Like, why don't you just go audition for this? And I was like, they're looking for like a model, like just go. And he was like, I'll drive you. So he drove me. I know, very cute. And I just walked into the room and they were like, all right, let's take a straight on headshot, like turn sideways, turn the other way. And they took a couple pictures and they're like, all right, well, we'll call you if we need you. And I was like, okay. And then 1 week later, they're like, hey, can you come in for a photo shoot we're doing a photo shoot for our marketing and advertising and like catalogs and stuff. And we'd like you to be featured in it. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. So off I went, did that photo shoot for them. And it's crazy because I still have friends who call me randomly and they're like, hey, we just saw your face on the side of a bus. And I was like, what? Like a bus in Washington, D.C. One friend was like pulling out a magazine on an airplane and was like, hey, it's you. You're in the little catalog in my like seat on the airplane. So I mean, they were like both really fun experiences, and it was nice working and doing things with both of those companies again, because both of them are female owned. Sumita Batra, yes, for Ziba, and then Ali Webb for Dry Bar. So all the more reason.
So support women-led businesses.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, I feel like the best things happen by accident somehow.
Yes, they definitely do. If my life is any proof of that, some of the best things happen on accident.
Yeah.
Yep.
Let's talk about some things that were a little more purposeful,
Yes.
like that you planned. So you are the assistant artistic director of Kalapeetham and the co-founder of Kalalayam. Can
Yes.
you talk about what that experience was like with being on more again
Um,
production side?
yes. So with Kalapeetham was actually founded by Sri Bhagavatalu Sita Ramasarma. So our connection to him, of course, is my mother's days in Kalakshetra. So he first founded Kalapeetham in Chennai, India, back in 1984. And his daughter actually runs the Singapore chapter of Kalapeetham. So there's an India school as well as a Singapore school. And then my mom actually founded her school here in Los Angeles under the name Shiva Shakti School of Dance back in 1990. And then once she reconnected with Sarma sir, she ended up rebranding and renaming her school as another chapter of Kalapeetham, Chennai. So that happened actually in 1998. So yeah, my mom actually started it all. She was just, basically after I was born, she was like, okay, I want to start a dance school. And she quit her day job and was like, all right, I have a baby girl. I'm going to teach. So I was in her lap at the age of 2, and she was teaching her dance classes. And, I just grew up with that, just grew up with tagging along with her for all of her classes, all of her long drives to dance classes, and all the many, many arangetrams over the years. And actually, once I finished high school in 2006, that's when I actually got more actively involved in Kalapeetham, and I started teaching my first group of students. And that group was actually in Simi Valley. And one of the girls from that group, Sweta, she did her arangetram. She was my first arangetram baby. So she did her arangetram in 2017. And that was actually my first time doing Natuvangam solo without my mom sitting next to me. So that was, yes, another experience. But it was definitely nice to see my first student get up on stage and do her first arangetram. It's I started that journey with her in 2006, and it unfolded 11 years later, and I was like, oh. So that's kind of Kalapeetham. And these days I am spending a lot of time training the students. Kalapeetham Dance Company is actually more of my baby. So the school, of course, my mom and we teach together, and she teaches like half the students, I teach the other half. And then the dance company is girls that I've handpicked from the school, who've gone through a rigorous audition process, and they're part of the performing company. And those are the girls who I train and spend a lot of time training to do like public performances and productions and fundraising events and all of that stuff. And then Kalalayam, that I actually co-founded with my 2 dance partners, Monisha and Anjana. And we actually started Kalalayam because we wanted to do more outreach work. So I wouldn't say just fundraising performances, but also like outreach workshops, like free workshops, things to kind of, I would say, expose, more of the Westerners to our Eastern culture. And also, of course, do the fundraisers and do a lot of other outreach type of work. So, yeah, it's, and Kalalayam is a nonprofit. So that's more, of our, I would say, probably like from the heart, whatever, we have to give back to the community. It's for that.
Absolutely. And I was reading how most of your performances are about topics that you don't necessarily see in dance, like you did one about mental health and human trafficking. So beyond the outreach, what prompts you to merge the activism with dance, beyond like sharing culture and what you were talking about, like the free classes?
So A lot of the reason why I choose topics like that, human trafficking, mental health, um, things like, stuff for International Medical Health Organization or Doctors Without Borders. I really feel like dance is a vessel for me. This is for me personally. Each dancer obviously has their own way of, you know, looking at their art and presenting their art and their purpose with art. My purpose with it, one is obviously teaching, which is extremely, which is something I enjoy so much. But the other is giving back and creating awareness with art. So if you have something that's a vessel like dance or music, why not use it to bring people's awareness to causes or to, you know, conflicts or to, different things that really need people's attention. And the best way to do that, I feel, is through dance and through music. There's no better way than getting up on stage and telling a story through your art that also connects to a cause or an organization, and giving that organization then a platform to share the good work that they do or the difference that they're trying to make with the public. So, and I feel like, especially given everything that we've gone through in 2020 and also now in 2021, we really need that. The small people need a voice. So it's definitely my vessel for giving back and sharing with people. So yeah, that's one of the biggest reasons why I choose the topics I choose.
I agree. Like, same for me. I feel like in any performing arts, like theater for me is my vessel to do that. So that's beautiful to hear that that is yours as well. And how do you pick the organizations? Like, is there a certain cause that draws you?
So actually right now, this is a little bit connected to what my current projects are. I'm planning to do a virtual fundraiser for the International Medical Health Organization for oxygen, those oxygen cylinders or canisters, because the situation obviously in Sri Lanka and also in India is horrible right now, and I know there's a lot of other dancers who are doing similar things. But obviously, because being a Sri Lankan, when I heard that also in Sri Lanka, in addition to India, they're now having this crisis, I was like, okay, time to, find a way to give back and to raise some money and do something for the people. So I'm in the middle of working on that with one of my students, just putting something together, which will probably go live in the next week or so. Where people can donate directly to the organization, and in return they get a free performance from us. So I mean, I just pick the organization based on what causes I feel like are needed the most at that particular moment. So if there's something major going on in our community or in the world at large, then I'll pick a cause like that and raise money for that. Going back, I actually first started doing this when I was a junior in high school, in tribute to my mom, because you and I talked about this. My mom is a breast cancer survivor. So my very first ever fundraising effort in 2002 was actually for the Susan G. Komen Breast Cancer Foundation. And I wanted to raise money for breast cancer research because of my mom's fight with breast cancer. And it's from there, it just domino effect. It's like it just writing that check to the organization at the end of the performance. I was like, we put on this performance, we sold tickets, we raised this amount of money with our efforts, it's gonna help somebody. So it was like a domino effect. I just wanted it to keep going. So yeah. As long as I can keep doing it, I will.
Yeah, I'm gonna fully misquote, but there's this saying that good deeds keep on giving, or something along
those lines. Yeah. I know what you mean.
Yeah. And for anyone who's watching, I just put a link as well for Give India into the YouTube chat. So if anyone is interested in donating,
please donate.
really use it. Yeah. And you were talking about Sri Lanka, and Sri Lanka has such a rich cultural heritage. So how do you incorporate that into your dance and your art making
Ah.
practice?
So I don't think we've talked about this, but I haven't been back to Sri Lanka since I was 4 years old. So I have very little memory of Sri Lanka. Don't remember it. My husband and I really want to go take a trip there, but obviously pandemic, not going to be possible anytime soon. But when we can, we want to, just because I need to get back in touch with those roots. It's been far too long, and for the most part, we avoided going just because of the civil war that was going on in Sri Lanka for so many years, and it was never the right time after that. So, but being Sri Lankan is a huge part of who I am, and a lot of, again, the fundraising work that I do, I try to pick a cause that gives back to the Sri Lankan people or refugees at least every couple years or so, because there are still people who need it, like widows and orphans, and so I'll try and find some project or the other and give back.
Definitely. That's really nice to hear. And so we've talked about how you've enjoyed using dance as a vessel for kind of social change and outreach. Is there a certain part of dance other than that you feel the most connection to?
Um,
This is a kind of
Honestly,
weird question.
yeah, no, there's so many parts of dance that I feel connected to, but it's a very spiritual thing for me. Um, so sometimes I know people crave the stage and they crave to be on stage and perform. That's something that a lot of artists I know desire. But for me, it's honestly, if you leave me alone in my studio and just let me create or practice pieces that I've already performed hundreds of times, that's what makes me the happiest. Like, I'm doing it for my own soul, for my own happiness, for my heart. Um, and that is one thing, and also teaching. Like, I'm happiest when I'm with my students. So, yeah. That my kids, I would say, are spending time with them and just having that light bulb moment go off in their heads and witnessing that light bulb moment. That's the best part of my day, best part of my week, best part of my month, best part of my year.
And I've kind of asked everyone who's been on this interview this question about legacy and what you hope to accomplish. So, what are your goals to accomplish with dance and storytelling?
um, you know, I would love to always, anytime I perform or anytime I teach, to leave the viewer or the audience kind of thinking about what I've presented for days to come. Like, not just applauding and whistling and cheering and all that in the moment. I would rather have an audience that watches a performance and is like silent because they're processing what I've just presented to them. So, whether it be taking them deep into a subject or deep into a story or deep into an emotion, and then having them carry that with them, and even think about it like years later,
Yeah.
and be scratching their heads and be like, what was she, you know, where was she taking us? Like, I feel like as a viewer, I could probably count on two hands the amount of times that I've actually experienced that watching a performance. And I that's something I would definitely like to leave behind as a legacy, is like always giving that type of performance or always giving that type of lesson that people carry with them forever, versus like one and bye. I'm like done thinking about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely inviting that audience on that journey that doesn't end when the performance ends.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I know we talked about this a little bit in the beginning, but if you weren't a dancer, like you just could not be a dancer, what would you be?
I would be a writer.
Ah.
Yes. I love to write. So I was one of those kids who went through journals and diaries like lightning speed. My mom could not stock up enough journals or I was just going through them so fast as a kid. But no, writing, actually, in high school, I was an editor on the school newspaper, and I almost majored in journalism in college, but ended up deciding to do kinesiology instead. And my grandfather, fun fact, family history, he actually was a writer. He used to work for the U.S. Embassy back when they were in Sri Lanka, and he was the chief of their press section in the U.S. Embassy. Yeah, so he was a photographer as well as a writer. And then he came to the States, and he was a writer for the LA Times. He used to submit pieces. Yeah, I think I might have gotten it from him because I just will write and write and write. I wrote a lot during the pandemic, some of which I might eventually post to our school website, the Kalapeetham.com site. It was just my musings about art and dance through the past year. But yeah, I would have loved to have been a writer and just write about anything and everything, social issues and arts. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, writing is another art form.
Yeah, it is.
That's so exciting to hear. I'm also working on my college's newspaper right now. So I'm just like, I love you. Publishing.
Yeah.
Wonderful. What advice would you have for aspiring dancers, especially South Asians?
Okay. So in my personal experience, I was truly blessed because I had a family backing me no matter what I decided to do, whether it was makeup or modeling or dance. When I was growing up, it was for a lot of my friends, South Asian friends, be a doctor, be a lawyer, be an engineer. It was like those three things. Those are your options. Choose one of those or, don't talk to me about it kind of thing. In my family, that was not the case. I had uncles, aunts, parents who were very supportive of all my choices. These days, I feel like kids are a lot luckier in that regard because parents are a lot more understanding and they're kind of like whatever makes you happy, which is great. So my advice for dancers or even musicians is if it makes you happy, go for it. The biggest hurdle to overcome is your own fears of pursuing it, right? Mm-hmm. You're always going to be scared. It's always going to come with financial struggles, right? Living month to month, not knowing if you're going to be able to pay your bills next month. But trust me, you always find a way. If you're very determined, if you're very dedicated, and if you're very passionate, there's no way you're not going to find a way. So it's a lot of hard work, a lot of determination, but most importantly, not giving up on yourself is a big thing. And then also be prepared to always be a student. So the learning never stops with dance and music or any art form. You are always going to be a student. If you can accept that and continue to be a student while still pursuing your career, then you'll succeed that much more.
Wow. Yeah. Never stops learning.
Nope, never stops.
And I think it really goes to say, I know my parents have been very supportive, and you were talking about how your parents are, how important it is to have that support system. Like, even if one's family is not in the arts, just to have someone else other than yourself that supports you and believes that you can do this, because I feel like half of the journey of an artist is self-doubt.
Yes. Oh yeah. It is. It's a lot of self-doubt. And I'm not going to lie, there's still moments where I have that self-doubt. I'd be lying to everybody if I said that there aren't those moments. I still have them, like maybe, every so often. But, just spending time with people who inspire you. For me, it's even spending time with my mom's teacher, who I'm lucky is still alive. She's Srimati Sharada Hoffman, who's my mother's guru, and she's also my mentor, Sheejith Sir's guru. She's like a fountain of wisdom. So if I'm ever down and if I just pick up the phone and call her, she will tell me stories and stories and stories about Kalakshetra, and I will just instantly I don't know. She's a magician in that way. She just brightens my day. So sometimes it's also about finding your muse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. And what you said about surrounding yourself by people who inspire you, this is literally what I'm doing right now. So
Aw. Yes. Yeah. You have to surround yourself with people who inspire you. And also continue to have a mentor as well along the way. That's really important. And I'm so lucky to have my mentor, Sheejith Sir, because I would say a lot of who I am today I owe to him and also my mother, just in terms of molding me, making me grow up. They're the two people who I owe everything to.
And speaking about mentorship, can you tell us one influential kissa, the show, or episode from your life that has been really important in shaping who you are?
Yes. I would actually say meeting my mentor, Sheejith Sir, and starting to work with him was the most influential time of my life. I actually met him back in 2006 and then started working with him in 2008. And my God, he's also the choreographer of Don Quixote. That was his brainchild. He, I can't even put it into words what he's done for me as an artist. You know, just it wasn't just teaching me dance or correcting me or just, looking at my choreography and saying, oh, this is, you should do this or you should do that. Like, he didn't just do that. He would talk to me about life, about, what it is to be an artist, the kind of life, an artist leads, just so many pearls of wisdom that he would drop. And working with him, and I spent literally a month and a half the first time just working with him every single day. He gave me so much in that month and a half that I was literally digesting it for 2 years afterwards. Mm-hmm. So I would say he was, and it still is, the most influential person and episode of my life.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And bringing it to where we are now, I think we all know how impactful the arts and the pandemic has been on the arts. So how have you adapted? Like, how have you pivoted to adapt to?
It's been a lot of Zoom classes, like I'm sure it has been for a lot of dance teachers and music teachers and a lot of artists. Initially figuring out how to do Zoom classes was a struggle, especially, because technology is not my mother's generation's best friend, but I have to say she's done a remarkable job of learning the technology, and she's, completely independent about it all now. But it's not easy. It's still not easy because we're not back to in-person classes yet. Obviously because a lot of our students aren't vaccinated. But it's hard because you can't see all 360 degrees through the screen. So I'm like telling my students, all right, turn this way so I can see if you're actually holding your arms in the right position.
Yeah.
But to be honest, our parents and students have been so supportive and so understanding, and everyone has continued to do dance classes throughout the entire pandemic. So I consider myself blessed and have no complaints.
Wow. Yeah, dance is
no.
I feel like any art form, but just dance specifically is so difficult.
Yeah, it's really difficult, and it's really hard. It's not meant to be taught, via Zoom or Skype or whatever. Honestly, technology is a means to an end right now. But the second, we're able to go back to in-person class, I might even delete my Zoom app at that point.
I feel that in a very deep place.
Yes.
Yeah. And so what are you currently working on? Do you have any upcoming projects?
I do. Actually, I have not announced this anywhere, so you're getting the announcement. I'm announcing it here. My biggest dream has been to build a school, a dance school, with actual buildings, with a small arts theater and all that stuff. Obviously, that's really expensive and hard to do here in the US because that would cost millions of dollars. And let's face it, artists just don't have that kind of money. But my family does have a property back home in Sri Lanka. And there are a lot of orphans and young children and also widows who are there back home in Sri Lanka as a result of the war. So one of my projects, another reason why I want to go back to Sri Lanka soon, is to go and see if a portion of that property that is currently vacant can be transformed into a dance school for kids in the community. And the goal would be for it to run solely based on donations and not charging any of the children or people any money to come and take classes. So figuring all of that out is what I'm currently working on. And obviously the construction, finding someone to build that out, finding out the cost for it, business proposals, estimates. I'm completely immersed in that at the moment. But it's something I've always wanted to do, and I've always wanted to give back to the community back home in Sri Lanka some way. And especially because on the same property, there is a temple dedicated to Nataraja, Lord of Dance. So it's only fitting that there's also a dance school on the same grounds. So that's another reason I'm trying to do that.
Wow.
Yeah, that's the current project.
I really hope that comes to fruition. That sounds.
I hope so too.
You heard it here, everyone.
Yes.
With Ishika. And speaking of that, so your future work and your current work and your past work, how can people stay connected with you? How can people find your work?
So the best way to stay connected with me is give me a follow on Instagram. So I'm at Tharini S, Tharini, capital S. And then you can also follow Kalapeetham on Instagram, Facebook, and also our website, kalapeetham.com. And we also have a YouTube channel, which has tons of clippings of our students' performances as well as mine. But that's the best way to follow and see what I'm up to.
Wonderful. And for anyone watching, just right after we end this, I will put the link. Oh, the link is actually.
The
link is in the description. So
yeah,
if anyone wants to go to the website for Kalapeetham, they can go through that.
Yes.
That's all the questions I have. And if there's anything else that I am missing, if there's anything else that you're working on, want to share, any inspiration, please do.
Oh, no, I think I'm going to leave it with a little quote at the end. And I feel like this quote has been with me since I was in high school. It's something I put on all my profiles. It's something that is even a part of my resume in a way. But it is "Be the change that you wish to see in this world" by Mahatma Gandhi. So important during these times. I feel like whatever we do, if we do it with love and passion, there's no way that the fruits of those labors will not be impactful on society and the world at large. So to all the young dancers and musicians and artists watching, keep that in mind, because that's the most important thing we have to remember in all of our work and in everything we do, is that we are the change and we need to be the inspiration to others.
That's a beautiful note to end on. And if not me, then who? If not now, then when?
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing your time and your heart and your story with us.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
It was my pleasure. And I've been reading the comments as well on the YouTube page, and everyone's been really enjoying the session. And I hope that people can find some sort of inspiration. And remember to like, share, and subscribe. And our next session will actually, it's not a week away. It's only a couple days away. It's on this Sunday, the 16th, at 12 p.m. So back to our Sunday noon normal time. And yeah, stay tuned. We have Tharini Didi was our first dancer, and we have 2 more dancers. So it's a dance-a-thon, you can say, for this month. And yeah, in the meantime, please stay safe, get vaccinated, and if you can, please donate to an organization that's helping in the areas that really need it, like Give India, Khalsa Aid, and whatever organizations that you can find to donate to. We really appreciate it. And that's it for me. Everyone, please take care, stay safe, and I'll see you on Sunday.